In this video, I'm going to read from parts of the court document where Xbox tells Sony how to do their job. It's a good day. Let's dive right in. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. If you've missed part 1 or 2, I'll link to those in the description, but let's talk about this juicy tidbit right here. So Xbox has been talking about how Sony is on top, and Sony's like, oh, we could be foreclosed on, etc., etc. And Xbox had some advice for them. Hey, maybe make things better for your customers. They said Sony could not respond through investments or improvements in its service. It is clear that Sony has a range of options to maintain or improve the competitive position of PlayStation Plus. At a minimum, Sony could include additional first and third-party releases in PlayStation Plus on the day-and-date release. Sony's first-party exclusives not currently included in PlayStation Plus include prominent titles such as The Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man, and the Final Fantasy VII Remake. The inclusion of such titles will be beneficial for gamers. Hey, yeah, Sony, why don't you just put some of your amazing games in your subscription service? And I laughed because they mentioned Final Fantasy VII Remake. I thought that was a timed exclusive. I guess it's a PlayStation exclusive, even though it's created by Square, who is a third party, and it was supposed to be timed, but I guess not. I thought it was funny that they mentioned that one. If Sony no longer had access to Call of Duty, it could shift the marketing payments it's been making to Activision under the Call of Duty agreements contract to attract competing titles to its console, exclusively or not. Oh my goodness. Xbox should be charging you a fee, Sony. You've been so scared about this merger and losing access to Call of Duty, which isn't going to happen, that, hey, they have some advice for you. Maybe all that money you've been spending to get exclusive skins and have the beta exclusively, you could reinvest that back in those studios. You're not going to need to spend the millions of dollars to acquire the exclusive skin or the exclusive console or the exclusive whatever anymore. Xbox is really doing you a favor. This was the best part of the document, because I was like, oh my goodness, Xbox is getting spicy in here. Anyway, let's continue on here. Sony could also easily increase its marketing investments in FIFA, Grand Theft Auto, another shooter franchise like Battlefield or Destiny, developed by Bungie, which Sony has recently acquired, or any other popular title to attract further subscribers to PlayStation Plus. And you know, Sony, I'm sure Xbox is available for a slight consulting fee if you need other investment suggestions, but those ones were free apparently. I thought it was so funny because they got so spicy in the document so early on. And I was laughing out loud. I was like, oh my God, they went there. They actually told Sony how to make their services better for their customers. I thought it was funny. Anyway, let's continue on here. Other established and prominent subscription services are offered by gaming companies with significant popular first-party content on both console and PC. Each of these services, including Amazon Prime Gaming, Luna, Apple Arcade, EA Play, Nintendo Switch Online, NVIDIA GeForce Now, and Ubisoft Plus, has a diversified content offering that is proven attractive to gamers and has achieved this without access to Activision content. So again, the whole point of the video is to go over the document, and they're moving on to their other competitors, but the Sony part was pretty great, right? What they're saying here is, look, all these other services have managed to attract customers, and they don't even have Activision content on their service. So the idea that Sony can't get them, it's just sort of a moot point, because obviously it works for other people. The merger's impact on multi-game subscription services is yet another example of its pro-competitive nature. A key benefit of the merger for gamers lies in Xbox's plan to make Activision content available on Game Pass on the day of the game's release. Yeah, that's very much a consumer benefit. You're going to have access to the entire Call of Duty catalog. You're going to be able to play day and date. A lot of stuff is going to be on Game Pass if you get it. And for me as a customer, I'm like, oh, I am very excited to just have access to all those games whenever I want. And that should be the bigger concern. The entire library, not just Call of Duty. That was a mistake of them to focus on just the one franchise. The difference between the two scenarios is stark. With the merger, Activision content will be available on at least one subscription service day and date. Without the merger, on none. This matters from a consumer welfare perspective because the more content consumers can access through subscription services, the lower the average prices of individual games. Absent the merger, every consumer who wants to play Call of Duty on another Activision title would need to purchase the game at full price, which Activision set the standard of $70 on. Xbox has said that very soon they're going to have to increase the price of their games or their console or Game Pass. I think if this Activision deal goes through, it's going to be a much easier pill to swallow if the price of Game Pass goes up and games go up to $70. And you know why the $70 thing will be easier to swallow? Because Sony has made that the industry standard already. So Sony has allowed Xbox a very easy and will likely be accepted scenario of increasing their game prices to $70. So thanks, Sony, I guess, for allowing Xbox to do that to the rest of us. Sony setting their games at 70 sent a signal to everybody else that said, it's time to raise our prices $10. It didn't need to happen. Movie prices have not gone up at retail. They're about the same as they were several years ago. I just don't agree with that fundamental philosophy. But here we are, and that is likely what is going to transpire in the next few days. Game Pass accounted for 0 to 5% of its digital distribution of gaming content globally. Even just looking at multi-game subscription services alone, it is Sony's PlayStation Plus, which is larger than Game Pass, both in terms of number of subscribers and in revenues. Sony has by far the largest subscriber base of any multi-game subscription service, and Sony markets itself as having built the world's best game subscription service. Sony's own marketing is kind of biting itself in the ass. Microsoft is laying out very well what everybody else is seeing. PlayStation's talking about how they're the best, how they make the most money, how they're not marketing that their games are $70. Their games are more expensive because they want to have higher quality games. They have the highest number of monthly active users. They're top number one. And all of a sudden they're going to the CMA and they're like, oh, we're this weak little lamb, right? That needs to be protected. And it's going to bite them in the butt. All the grandstanding is not going to be great. And Xbox doesn't stop there. Import foreclosure has never been found in a case where one party, here Xbox, was the smallest player in the downstream market, and the other party, in this case Activision, was only the 5th largest competitor out of more than a dozen established suppliers competing in the upstream market. They're saying Activision is 5th place, Xbox is 3rd place. They're going to merge, and there's worry about this merger. It's a little unheard of. And I believe they reference the Bond series here. Yeah, they reference here in just a second. So Xbox and Activision's market shares are well below market share levels that have given rise to concerns in previous CMA Phase 2 input foreclosure decisions. And I put, it's an interesting point why the interest from the CMA in a company much smaller than any other investigation that's been conducted. Part of it could be that Sony has been lobbying. Sony is out there lobbying, going to the CMA, going to the UK to talk to them about their concerns for this. And then all of a sudden it's potentially a press opportunity. You're taking on the big bad, right? Microsoft, the wolf in sheep's clothing is what a lot of people believe, right? A lot of people do not like Microsoft, and it's great PR for these regulators to be taking them on. Take it on, make a big public spectacle of it, have them agree to some consent decrees. The CMA gets the win. Microsoft gets to look like the good guy at the end of the day. It's kind of a non-losing situation, except for Sony, who went out there and went crying to all these people. And honestly, it looks really bad on their part. I said on Twitter, I'm like, this is or in one of my earlier videos, I said this. I said, it's a really bad look for Sony to be doing this. This makes them look weak in the market, and that's not respected in a lot of places by a lot of people. I think this is going to, longer term, how they've reacted to this situation, bite them in the butt. I'm aware that they're playing the game, right? They're trying to get these regulators to sort of see their worries or whatever, or ham up their worries a bit to get it blocked as much as possible. That's what they're trying to do. But they've done it in a way that makes them look weak instead of strong. And that's going to hurt them long term, I think. User and critic reviews, as well as gaming industry publications, among other sources, show that there are many other popular, iconic, award-winning, or otherwise special gaming titles out there that are not made by Activision. Similar cases, such as the acquisition by Amazon of MGM Studios with its bounty of iconic brands, legendary films, and television series, including franchises such as James Bond, have not raised issues. That's incredible. They're basically saying that you let somebody buy James Bond and you didn't say anything. I have to imagine that the value proposition of the James Bond franchise, think about the licensing deals and the merchandise and everything, that has to just like destroy the Call of Duty brand, wouldn't it? Anyway, I thought that was a really strong point on their part. I hadn't even considered that. Yeah, somebody bought James Bond and nobody said anything. Kind of interesting. Let's wrap through these few quickly. NVIDIA GeForce Now has partnered with multiple PC digital storefronts, including Steam, Epic Games Store, GOG.com, and Ubisoft Connect to make over 1,000 games available. Amazon has its own first-party games, as well as over 100 third-party titles, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, Immortals Fenyx Rising, Resident Evil, A Plague Tale, and many others. It's saying the CMA's allegation that Microsoft will own Call of Duty, it could foreclose cloud gaming rivals by leveraging its cloud and PC operating system business, has no basis in fact or law. So they're setting that up. They're basically saying, you think that we can take out NVIDIA and Steam? No. Activision's games are less important for... Oh, boy. Activision games are less important for cloud gaming than they are for console gaming because Activision titles such as Call of Duty are inherently challenging titles to stream. Minimizing latency is critical. If you don't know what latency is, it's like when you press the button, how long it takes for an action to appear on the screen. It takes time. And they are correct in that. Streaming Call of Duty sucks. Anyway, minimizing latency is critical to the gamer experience, and high latency can have a significant detrimental effect on the quality of gameplay, particularly for competitive multiplayer gameplay, a central element of the appeal of Call of Duty. Activision has determined that it's bad. I'm guessing is that they said. So they need to work on it, right? And then, oh boy. So we're going to go, I'm just going to speed through these really quick because there's like 3 more points. Well, Activision has blank in 2019 and in early 2020, Activision participated in a closed environment beta test of NVIDIA's GeForce Now cloud gaming service, but NVIDIA made Activision's content available on NVIDIA's live platform without their consent. Activision required NVIDIA to remove access to its content, which NVIDIA did. NVIDIA was not foreclosed by the withdrawal of Activision titles and instead pointed customers to the wide array of alternative content available on its service. We have over 1,500 games that developers have asked to be onboarded to the service. Look for weekly updates as to new games we are adding. So they added a bunch of new games. There's technical limitations. Activision content would not be available to them absent the merger. So like nobody would be able to stream COD without the merger. So they're bringing it. You can't foreclose if it was never available is their argument. This next part was really interesting, and this is where we're going to wrap up the video. They actually give some insight into Azure, which has been a talking point for CMA, the UK, and the USA, the FTC. Here's what they have to say. They say that Azure, it actually has nothing to do with Xbox Cloud Gaming. Instead, it uses bespoke Xbox console infrastructure, which is not provided by Azure. Azure does not have an infrastructure as a service offering for cloud gaming. Azure is incentivized to provide IaaS to cloud gaming providers, in order to secure economies of scale and scope, but it's only a limited number of customers which multi-source from other IaaS providers. Microsoft licenses Windows to cloud computing providers predominantly through resellers, and prices do not depend on the industry and use case. So basically what they're saying is we don't control who buys Windows. Resellers control that. So there's kind of like a third party already. So they couldn't foreclose on operating systems, which was just absolutely ridiculous to read in these documents. And it's really interesting that Azure was brought up because they're saying that it would be used, and Microsoft's like, no, Azure has nothing to do with Game Pass or cloud gaming, so that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, started it off talking about Xbox telling Sony how to bring in more customers. I thought that was sort of funny. And it ended with something I didn't realize, that Azure has nothing to do with Xbox cloud gaming. So there we go. I learned something today. Maybe we both did. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. I'm going to be continuing through this document over the next few days. And if any news breaks, I'll do 2 videos that day. The goal is going to be to set these up over the next few weeks or few weeks. I hope it's not that long, but a few days, and read through the whole document together and then get back to it. But if you want to become a member and watch the whole thing, members, I'm going to post this whole thing as soon as I finish reading it. We're on page like 10 and we've done 3 videos. It's 111th, but if you want to join, and click that join button right down there. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.